And we are back. We had the opportunity to interview TJ Werre of the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency to talk weather, disasters, government responders, and hurricane season. Here's that interview.
So tell us a little bit about the organization you work for. What does the acronym MEMA stand for?
MEMA is the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency. Basically, it plans and prepares for emergency scenarios, responds to and supports local emergency managers during events, and coordinates and resources recovery efforts in the wake of disaster. So basically, when bad things happen, we are there to make sure that people get the most they can that is available to them to help them get back to as normal function as possible.
How does it differ from FEMA?
Well, FEMA is the federal agency, so we're kind of a liaison, you could say, with FEMA when it comes to getting federal assistance. Like right now, we are working 3 federally declared disasters, and they're all for public assistance. Now, it gets a little confusing at times when you say public assistance. You think that means the public, but it doesn't. It just means, your local government and those sorts of buildings, roads and structures that are run by counties and local governments and such. So right now, we're working 3 of those, and businesses are able to get a certain portion of recovery funds reimbursed to them by the federal government. So we work with them to make sure those counties and municipalities get all of their funding that they need to rebuild and get back to normal.
So you guys are heavily involved with the actual logistics of preparing and executing strategies during these big weather events like Hurricane Barry, the Mississippi River flooding. What is the hardest part of what you guys do?
Well, I guess it would be the unpredictability of an event. Hurricanes, for one thing, are very predictable, I guess. You can see them coming from a long way out. However, let's say a tornado is something that you really can't predict where it is going to hit. Now, you can expect severe storms to come through, but you just don't know where a tornado is going to drop down, or you really don't know how big of a tornado it's going to be. So our big thing here is preparedness and messaging. Preparedness messaging, basically. When it comes to tornadoes, for example, know where your safe place is, and have a weather radio handy, have ways to be listening for warnings. And, just those are the kind of things we try and help get the message out to people when it comes to a thing you can't predict, like it would be a tornado.
Sure. What are some of the best success stories that you've seen since you've been working there at MEMA?
Well, we've had the flooding going on right now, and so we're still working hard on that for some of the counties out there to get them a federally declared disaster. We're still working it though, but we've been doing a lot to make sure that is going to happen once we're able to do all of our damage assessments to get FEMA in here. Our executive director, Greg Michelle, and a team of executive leadership from MEMA was actually in Washington, D.C. talking to our state congressmen and women about what is going to happen about this flooding, how we're going to be able to secure federal help when it comes to recovering from this disaster. So that's a really big thing that I've noticed since I've been here. We've also, we had a lot of tornadoes from January through February, and I got here in the middle of all of it in early March. And one of the things I really noticed is just the sense of community that the state has in small towns. We went up to, we were touring some tornado damage, and the Weather Channel was there. And one of the reporters said, I wish I lived where I was from, a place like Mississippi, because I see neighbors helping neighbors. You don't see all this. She said she was from the Northeast. She said, I don't see this every day where I'm from. And that was really neat to see that when we're out there touring damage, to see the immediate after effects and the help that everybody's giving each other to try and clear debris, check and make sure everybody's okay. Those are really neat things that I've seen since I've been here.
Now, you mentioned getting things approved for it to be declared a natural disaster area. What, if you know, are there certain standards that have to be met for that to happen? And then if it does happen, and we hear that phrase thrown out there all the time, the president has declared it a national disaster. Also, so what's involved in getting something declared? And 2, once it is declared, what things come about, positive things come about to these people who've suffered from these disasters? In other words,
what does it
open up for them? What does it open up for them?
Well, it goes a couple different ways. I was talking about public assistance, and there's also individual assistance. Now, individual assistance goes to literally the individuals, the homeowners, and just regular residents. But public assistance, there's kind of a process that goes through, and you have to meet a certain threshold of damage in dollars, depending on the county, per capita, and all those different things. So once you meet that, then you can be approved for a federal disaster. And I was kind of mentioning earlier how those that goes about and the things that are available so they can help you rebuild a building in case it gets blown away by a tornado. We're going to have a ton of roads that are going to be damaged. MDOT has already told us about a lot of roads that are finally losing floodwater. Floodwater is receding now on the Mississippi River, and they're seeing damage already to roads that are going to need to be fixed. So that's another thing that the federal government can help the counties pay for when it comes to a federal disaster. But again, for that specific event, we don't have one yet, but the water's finally going down, so we can finally get and see exactly how much damage that storm caused, or I should say the flooding caused. And when it comes to individuals, there's really no magic number to hit, but when they do, the amount of assistance available isn't a whole lot. Like the max is just under $40,000, and that's the max amount an individual can get. And the average is really only around $8,000. So a big thing for us is that preparedness messaging. And when it comes to your home, having homeowners insurance, being able to make sure that when something happens, and if it's catastrophic and damage to your possessions, your house, your dwelling, that you're able to be insured in the proper manner, so you'll be reimbursed to the best of your ability, and you won't have to rely on the federal government to help you out, because they're not going to rebuild. They're just going to help you make a livable situation.
What are some resources available to us along the coast that most people don't know about?
I mean, we have the volunteer organizations active in disaster. That's VOAD. There's the American Red Cross. It's a huge partner with us. It works through the Mississippi Department of Human Services. So there are plenty of organizations available to help people out in recovery. And there's also shelters in various parts of the state and in counties that people can go to in the beginning of, say, a hurricane coming to the coast, or in the after effects of, say, a community is wiped out, whether, when it comes to like a neighborhood or something like that. So there are plenty of different ways that people can get help outside of just the federal and state government.
Do you know how they might find out about some of those places? Is that just something you Google, or is that something, are there apps or?
Yeah, you just go to our website, msema.org, and you click on County EMA, and on that list is a drop down of all the contact information for our county emergency managers. So you call the county emergency manager in which you live, and they can tell you where those safe rooms and those shelters are located if you ever need one.
You hear these predictions every year. There's going to be this number of storms and this many majors. And do you guys pay attention to those?
I mean, you do and you don't. I mean, like the hurricane outlook this year said we're going to have 13 storms, 5 hurricanes, 2 major hurricanes somewhere in the Atlantic hurricane season. But I mean, it only takes one to really mess you up. So you just have to really be prepared for the worst case scenario. Barry brought a lot of rain, but fortunately that was about all it brought with it. I don't think there were any deaths reported from that storm. So, I mean, we did a really good job, we feel like, of preparing for the worst in that situation. We put out many search and rescue teams strategically in parts of the state so where they could get to places that they were needed. We also had shelters ready to go in case we needed shelters, all sorts of things. But we pay attention, but at the same time, we prepare for just about anything. So when hurricane rolls around, we're ready to roll in case we really need to, go full force.
So the number one theme of all this between you and also the people, our viewers, is preparedness is key.
Yes, absolutely. 100% preparedness is key. You can never be too prepared for, any kind of disaster. You hate to kind of like play in those scare tactics almost of like, you got to be ready in case this kind of thing happens. But it's important. It's important to have all those things organized and ready to go in case you need them.
Well, Chicken Little only has to be right once.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
Thank you so much, TJ.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Take care.